Alright YouTube, this is what we're working on today. We are installing one of these gimbals. These are the gimbals you can buy inexpensively on eBay for 60 bucks or so to put on your DJI Phantom. We're going to be going over the basic installation and more the wiring, because that seems to be what's getting people confused. The first step you want to do on this is you want to actually install the gimbal itself. You can see it basically mounts to the underside. I'm not going to go in detail into the mounting here because there are dozens of videos all over YouTube of how to do this. It's a really simple process of just mounting the plate, getting the whole thing installed. So if you need help on that, just search for gimbal install. Those will be on there. These are all powered differently. Some of them pull power through. There's a little power cable that you can run through here that hooks up to the board of the copter. Some of them run off of here. This is your balance plug from your battery, so that would hook directly to your balance plug right here on your battery. And some of them have a different kind of connector that you would solder onto here. This one runs straight off the battery, so we're just going to run it like that for now. But what we're going to be focusing on today is getting the tilt control all set up for you. After you have it installed, one of the first things you want to do is you want to actually remove the top of the shell. That's this part right up here. What you're going to do is go on the underside of your copter, and on each edge here there's going to be screws here, here, and down here. And there's this little guy up here. You're going to take those off of all four arms, and then you're going to have to carefully peel back those stickers to get the top loose. Once you've done that, the entire top will pop right off here. And for this, you don't even have to bother disconnecting those wires. You can just carefully let it rest behind so you don't put any tension on those wires. And for today, what we're going to be using are the connectors right here on the back of the Naza. And the one that we're going to be hooking into is this one on the far left, the F2 connector. So that's this one right in here on the far left. You'll notice up here on the top of the Naza there is there's a little indicator on the left side here that says positive, negative, and the little symbol for ground. And the two that you're going to be dealing with on this is the negative and ground. You do not have to deal with the positive to get signal to your gimbal for the control of it. So we're going to be hooking a cable into the positive and negative. We're going to be running it through this little plug over here on the side, and we're going to be running it down through the body and hooking it right into these connectors here on the gimbal. Your gimbal probably came with a set of wires like this. There's more here than you need. There's 4, so what you can do is basically split them so you only have the 2 that are necessary for gimbal control. That way you don't have the extra wires just flailing around on the thing. So what we're going to do is we're going to split those in half, and then we're going to feed them on up through that hole. You can see here, because we pushed it out, there's a little rubber plug that we pushed out of that hole to give us access. Those 2 little wires there are power wires, so if you do want to power your gimbal with those, you can solder on a connector and solder it to your gimbal. The little plug that we popped out is this little guy. He goes right up there in that hole, but we popped him out so we can run these wires through. Okay, it's kind of a tight squeeze here, but we did get the wires run through the hole. So it runs down through, and then right out the underside of the gear. So we've got the wires on either side. So now we're going to get to hooking it up to the Naza and up to the gimbal itself. Okay, so here we are. We've got it clipped into the board on the gimbal. And what you see what I did here was I took the wires and I kind of tucked them up and behind this little rubber guy. These guys are for helping take some of the vibration out of the gimbal. But I tucked that up behind there because it'll keep the wires out from up here and out of the field of view of the camera. And then I tucked it all back up through that little hole. And then just a little tip here, if you get a little screwdriver like one of these guys, this is a big help with just pushing that little rubber piece up through there. If you don't have one of those, you could just use a paper clip or something small so you can get it up through there. Okay, so our wiring is basically complete. We've got the wiring here, and it's going down through the hole in the frame. Popping out the bottom, and you can see here I tucked it in behind one of these little rubber shock absorbers there. These guys help absorb some of the vibration as this thing's flying, and wired it right here into the gimbal. So there it is, tucked in there, and that is the extent of the wiring. When you go to replace that little rubber piece that goes up in here, Sometimes it is helpful to get something like a little screwdriver, like one of these guys, or if you don't have one of these, even just a paper clip, pocket knife, key, something small and rigid that you can help kind of push that up in there. So with that, all you need to do now is just tuck these wires in and shut the whole thing back up, and you are ready to fly. Okay, here it is all installed. We are almost ready to go. It is a good idea before you button everything up and put all the screws back in to make sure that everything is installed correctly and working correctly. So before you button up the top here, we've still got the top off. You want to hook this thing up to your computer and get everything dialed in and activated. So you will have to do that before any of this will work. On your transmitter here, you're going to install right into one of these two holes here a lever. And there are plenty of videos out there to tell you how to install those levers. You're going to install that lever, and that will give you the control as you're flying. If you want to test it out in the meantime, you can just simply put a little screwdriver in the back here and turn it. And you'll be able to see that everything is working, so you can confirm that before you button everything up. And that is how to wire up a eBay gimbal.